Welcome back to another episode of the Even Your Dynasty Show. There's currently not a whole lot going on in Giants land, so this episode we're going to be doing kind of a projection of the Giants pitching staff for 2024. Um, it seems to be relatively set in stone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through what they project as what projects as the starting rotation. Keep in mind Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray are going to start the year on the injured list, so the Giants are probably going to carry 13 pitchers. We're going to go over the 13 that are probably going to be on the opening day roster. Um, Obviously, there's a chance they maybe sign a guy in the um, closer to camp, someone like Scott Alexander caliber pitcher that might battle for one of the last bullpen spots. But we're going to kind of go off of what they currently have, which I think they'll probably at least be filling 12 of the spots with what they already have under contract. Um, and then we're also going to talk about a couple names to watch, people that we might see in the year, as well as we're going to talk about the steamer projections. That's what Fangraphs uses for the starting pitchers. I'm not going to go through all of the bullpen, but projections wise, but we will talk about who is probably a lock and who we might see in the pen. So starting rotation, starting with Logan Webb. Steamer has him projected for 32 starts, 204 innings pitched, 3.53 ERA. I think the ERA is honestly going to be a little bit lower than that, probably low threes, high twos. Innings pitched is probably about right. He's he's a workhorse. He's probably we're hoping for 200 innings or more as long as he's healthy. One of the best in the game. So the next four I didn't put in any particular order because really the Giants don't have like a set order, I think, on their starters. They're all kind of the same caliber guy. Currently, guys will separate themselves hopefully. But second person I put in was Kyle Harrison. They have him projected for 24 starts, 140 innings, 4.14 ERA. The starts feels low. I think it'll be closer to 30 as long as he's healthy. The innings pitched, he'll probably be about 150 if I had to guess. And then walks are going to be really dictating kind of the ERA. I have a feeling because if he's walking a lot of guys, that's probably about right. But if he can control the zone pretty well and keep the walks down, I think there's a high chance that he actually could take a huge jump this year. And I think he's going to be a really strong candidate to be the NL Rookie of the Year this year. I think he's going to actually be pretty good. Next person I put down was Jordan Hicks. They have him projected to make 15 starts, 118 innings, 3.61 ERA. Obviously, Steamer doesn't buy that he's going to be a starter all year. They think he's going to make, because they actually had him pitching in 50 games. So they think he's going to work a lot out of the pen. We'll see how convicted the Giants are on using him as a starter. But the ERA seems about right, especially if he's starting some more games. He's probably going to be a lower ERA guy if they put him in the pen full time. But, uh, you know, it, I think he has the stuff to be a highly effective starter, at least in like 5 innings starts. Next, Ross Stripling. I mean, I'm about as excited about that as everybody else, but he has had a lot of decent seasons. They project him for 26 starts, 144 innings, 4.49 ERA. Nothing special. I mean, he's had like 3 or 4 years where he's had over a 5 ERA, and he's had like 3 or 4 years where he's been in the low threes, mid to low threes. So kind of down the middle with that projection. Nothing exciting there. I think he's going to be a big candidate to get kicked out of the rotation once guys get healthy. Keaton Winn is the last guy. They have him projected for 19 starts, 139 innings pitched, 4.08 ERA. I think he's a guy that a lot of people in the Giants or among Giants fans, and it sounds like in the organization, are super high on Keaton Winn. The name I see thrown around a ton is Kevin Gossman, which, I mean, frankly, I don't see that. I think he can. This isn't a slide on Keaton Winn. I think he's going to be a solid arm. I think he's a functional starter that could eat up innings. He has a really nice fastball splitter combination. But the people that are talking about him like he's going to be Kevin Gossman, I think that is just completely out there. Um, You're talking about a guy that has never dominated a single level of professional ball. His best performance came in high A like 5 years ago, where he had a 3.3 ERA. Everywhere else, he's been 4 to 4.5 to almost 5 in the minors. And I'm not really gonna put a lot of stock in a 4.68 ERA in San Francisco last season because it was only like 35 innings. But a lot of you talk to a lot of Giants fans in certain places, and they talk about him like he's going to be like an ace in a year, which I think that's totally insane personally. But I do like the arm overall. I think he can be a nice back end of the rotation guy. He's young, he's cheap, he can be a good solid starter that can eat some innings, and I don't think he's bad by any stretch. I think that projection's pretty fair. He's probably a guy that, I think the only 2 that I feel confident in starting all year is gonna be Webb and Harrison. The other 3 are gonna be kinda candidates as Cobb and Ray eventually comes back. I think the other 3 are candidates to get kicked one way or the other. I think Stripling's a DFA candidate. Wynn's gonna be either an option or, getting moved to the bullpen candidate. And then Hicks is probably, get moved to the bullpen candidate, depending on how that experiment is going. So, but I don't want anyone thinking that I just like have it out for Keaton Wynn. I think he's a good young pitcher. It's just limited. Um, Other pitchers that were projected to make a start or some starts because that's only about 107. I think it was like 117 or 116 starts between those 5. Alex Cobb, they project at 16 starts, 89 pitches, 3.7 ERA. It's pretty close to his career numbers, ERA wise. Um, I think he's going to make more than that. They project him to come back in May, so he'll probably be closer to 20 or the low 20s on starts if he comes back that soon. If it is June or June or so when he comes back, then this probably could be pretty accurate. But I think he'll clear 20 starts, and I think he'll clear 100 innings at least. Robbie Ray, they only project for 5 starts, 34 innings, 3.99 ERA. Again, if he's coming back after the All-Star break or in August, probably closer to 10 to 12 starts tops. But, that's kind of negligible at that point. One other person, they did project Tristan Beck to make 15 starts and throw 125 innings and a 4.53 ERA. So I think they kind of expect Wynn and Beck and Stripling all to kind of mix and match there on their starts. So we'll see. But I think as of today, my best guess would be Webb, Harrison, Hicks, Stripling, Wynn as the starting 5. Now in the bullpen, you have the locks. You have Camilo Duvall, Taylor Rogers, Tyler Rogers, Luke Jackson, and Ryan Walker, and Tristan Beck. I think those 6 guys are locks. So that gets you to 11 pitchers. Now the last 2 are where it's kind of up for grabs. Eric Miller, who was in Sacramento last year, the Giants acquired from Philadelphia a few years ago, throws high 90s, wipeout slider as a lefty. I actually think he's a pretty close to a lock to be in the bullpen this year, unless he just absolutely bombs in spring training. Part of that is because the only other lefty in the pen is Taylor Rogers, so the Giants really need at least one more. So I think Eric Miller is going to be borderline a lock, and then the last guy, and this is someone that I think could take the kind of the Jacob Junis role as kind of a bulk guy. I think Kaiwei Tang right now. He was also in Sacramento. He was a starter in Sacramento, but I could see him, maybe Sean Jelly. I just don't want to see Sean Jelly again, but maybe the Giants seem to like him, so there's a chance that he ends up back. But I think Kaiwei Tang gets a chance. Was one of the leaders in strikeouts in the Pacific League last year, so I think there's a good chance that he ends up as the last guy in the pen in kind of that Jacob Junis role, the bulk, you know, probably pitches in a lot of blowouts, but can eat 3-4 innings at a time. So that's kind of where I see the pen right now and where I see the pitching staff. Now there's some names to watch. The first one is going to be Mason Black. He made it all the way up to Sacramento last year. think he's probably their best pitching prospect that's actually knocking on the door currently. Um, high end projection would be maybe like a mid rotation starter, but I think he's at least a quality arm. And I think if enough guys get hurt or just flame out, like he's going to be one of the first that I think gets an opportunity to start games. So he's someone to keep an eye on. Now, the last two, Carson Wisenhunt, before he dealt with a little bit of an elbow injury that shut down his season last year, there was talk that he was going to make a start, or they were talking about him debuting last season. Obviously, he's like their second best pitching prospect. He's one of the top left-handed pitching prospects in baseball, along with Kyle Harrison. So he's a guy that keep an eye on. They were talking about it last year, which means he's going to start the year either in Double A or Triple A this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if he moves fast, especially if he pitches as well as he did last year, where he was just absolutely dominant. So he's a name to keep an eye on. And then the last one, who he peaked in high A, and he's thrown all of about 20 innings in professional ball, but Reggie Crawford, they were also talking about debuting. Now, if he debuts, it's going to be probably in a bullpen role, which, there's, as we talked about, they don't have many lefties right now. So there is a spot for a guy that throws 100 with a nasty slider coming out of the pen, where you can just be like, all right, leave it out on the, empty the tank in an inning. So I could see Reggie Crawford potentially coming up, because I don't know if they're going to start him in high A again. That's where he finished last year. He only threw about, I think, 8 to 10 innings in high A, because they were limiting to 1 to 2 innings per start. So I could see him easily being in Double A. Just he seems like a guy that they're accelerating a little bit. I'm hoping they actually let him, take off the kids' gloves for him, let him throw a lot more innings, let him start. He's another year removed from Tommy John. Hopefully, they're planning on stretching him out. Otherwise, I think he's just going to end up being a bullpen arm that they're hoping ends up developing into a late inning or closer type arm. Because at some point you got to let the guy throw innings. But he was another guy they were talking about potentially bringing up last season. So if they were thinking about it last year, I have to think they're going to be thinking about it this year. So that's kind of what I see as far as the projections go for the rotation. Let me know if there's any names you guys are thinking of. Like I said, I think they'll probably end up at least signing another kind of a veteran camp arm on like a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. And there's always a possibility, someone like Scott Alexander's caliber player. And there's always a possibility that person takes one of the last spots. But this is what I see at the moment. If you got, comment in the, or leave a comment if you think I'm totally off on any of these, who you guys think might come in. On top of that, like, subscribe. I think it's like 83% of the people that watch the videos aren't subscribed. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support everybody gives me on these. I'm having a lot of fun doing these videos. I want to keep putting them out. Drop comments if you guys have any topics that you want me to discuss in future videos. I've done it in the past, and I'll keep doing that. If I get someone that wants something, I will, even if I don't know it, I will do my research on it and give my take on it. So also follow me on Twitter. It's at the handle is at EYD Show. And other than that, I will catch you all next time.